are upset that the balancing of the Force with Anakin really didn't balance the Force because the Emperor survived.
Sure.
But I actually read a really interesting theory that I actually kind of agree with.
Okay.
The Palpatine we see in Rise of Skywalker is always on Exegol.
Right.
And Sheev Palpatine, who's the senator that becomes emperor, was a puppet, was a clone.
Sure.
That he was controlling like he was controlling Snoke.
Sure.
And then, so the Emperor is killed in the Death Star, bringing balance.
Sure.
And then which makes that a little bit more believable than him surviving, falling into the Death Star's reactor, and then the explosion.
Sure.
But...
although he's,
But he doesn't have the lightning face.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's got a zombie face, not a lightning face.
I really loved the visuals for his setting.
Yeah.
It was one of my brother, who knew my tickets were for Sunday, texted me immediately after he got out of the theater Thursday night with, they weren't spoilers because we had already discussed, based on the trailers and stuff, that Palpatine was definitely going to be in this movie. The end credits of the last one. If you know Star Wars, you knew that was Palpatine.
Yeah.
You knew what that meant. But he definitely was like, man, the scenes with Palpatine have this really cool horror vibe. And I was like, oh, cool.
It's like, shut up, Forrest. Shut up.
But I agree with him. I really dug the vibe of the whole thing. I loved the terrifying, almost Geiger-esque robot Palpatine arm thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was great.
Did you get a seizure warning?
Yes.
At the beginning? Okay.
Well, I did at Cinemark. I don't think I did at Studio Movie. Did you go? Where did you go?
I went to Greenback.
So yeah, Cinemark.
Yeah, I got but
I could have just been looking down at Studio Movie Grill.
That's true. There was a couple scenes though in the
that were pretty intense with all the lightning strikes and everything. It was very stroby.
It was stroby, and it also came from different directions on the screen, which looked phenomenal on Palpatine's face.
Yeah,
just getting the different angles. But I could see that having an effect on a couple people. That was rough to look at, but it was also really cool to look at. One really nitpicky nerd thing.
Good.
All the people, there's no gravity in space. You can't drop bombs from the thing, yada yada, from last year.
Yes.
They airdropped horses onto a Star Destroyer.
They were not out of atmosphere.
I know. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You're on a ship.
Sure.
Tilt 45 degrees to the left.
No more
Invasion
horses,
done.
Right.
I'm just saying. They were a kilometer in the sky.
Yeah.
And those were horses.
Right.
Not magnet
tentacle we don't know. Maybe they had retractable wings.
I'm just thinking, they've landed a ground force on top of our Star Destroyer. All right. Tilt. But the scene where Finn and...
Rose?
No.
Oh, yeah.
The other girl.
The
Stormtrooper chick.
I don't know her name.
I don't know either. Where they hack the turret.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, I liked that.
That was really cool.
I really liked... and I liked it more the second time, the shot of Rey lying on the ground with all the Jedi Masters speaking to her. The strobe and the voices. There's something about that was just so good.
They got everyone.
Yeah, they did.
They did the Alec Guinness thing again. They
and
had
Ewan
McGregor. They had Samuel L. Jackson. They had
Liam Neeson.
They had the voice actress who played. They had Hayden Christensen. They had the
whole nine.
They even had the
Ahsoka
Jedis
Tano.
from the Rebels shows. So they had Ahsoka Tano, and they had Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays a Jedi in that.
I really appreciated that.
That was so good. Like, I don't know. The only thing that I don't know if it would make it better or make it tackier.
Sure.
But seeing their Force ghosts, maybe.
Sure.
But that might have made it tackier.
I think it would distract from what's happening.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Probably, yeah.
Especially since most of that was just close on her face. So you would have had to change the vibe of the scene pretty dramatically.
True. Very true. But yeah.
It still would have been cool, though. I get that.
Hearing the voices, though, that was really cool.
I liked it.
I'm glad that they got Hayden Christensen.
Me too.
That made me feel good.
He may be the little black sheep, but he's still part of the family.
Yeah, well, so there's one thing that I've learned. Star Wars fans are relentless.
Oh, yes.
And I am so glad Hayden Christensen has made it out.
Right.
You know, like he's acting again. He's doing what he needs to do.
Right.
He survived Star Wars fandom.
No easy feat.
Gosh. But yeah, going back, I actually didn't realize how much I liked Revenge of the Sith. Like, it's actually a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't beat, episodes 4 through 6.
Sure.
But it's actually a good one. Like, I enjoy watching Revenge of the Sith.
I don't hate any of the prequel movies.
No, neither do I.
There are parts that are silly, but there aren't really parts that I, actively dislike.
Mm-hmm. There's you have to admit, though, there are some cringy parts in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
or Attack of the Clones.
Of course there are. But I don't dislike them. It might just be a result of the fact that they came out when I was, 12, 13. And that's, 12-year-olds are in a place to receive Jar Jar humor, guys. Don't even hate Jar Jar.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. But also, have you watched the other Star Wars movies? There's a lot of ridiculous stuff. He's just a really big one.
Yeah.
But I don't, I happily watch them all.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think, though, that is all that being said, my final critique for Rise of Skywalker is that you look at 4, 5, and 6, and they had, even though directions changed, they had the constant George Lucas input.
Sure.
And then you look at the prequels, and as bizarre as some of the decisions were that were made in it, there's the constant George Lucas input.
Sure.
And so they're bizarre, they were weird at times, but they were cohesive.
Right.
And that's my biggest complaint with the new ones, is even though Force Awakens, I feel, is a good movie. Last Jedi, I feel, is a good movie. And though Rise of Skywalker is jam freaking packed, it's still a really good movie.
Right.
They don't feel cohesive through the 3.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't feel like one story. It feels like Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker are one story. Yeah. And then there's a random one-shot of Last Jedi in between the two.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But Babu Freak, man. Babu Freak.
And the little droid, what was his name?
Dio.
Dio with his, no thank you.
No thank you. Which, did you know that Dio was voiced by J.J. Abrams? That's so adorable. No thank you. John Williams is in this movie.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. He's a bartender on one of the places with a big old thing over his eye, but glad he finally got to be in, because this is his last Star Wars. He's not going to be scoring any more Star Wars.
That makes sense. It's got to be exhausting, especially with the way he writes these soundtracks with both character and theme motifs in the score to try and keep track of 50, 60 years of film. 'Cause I fell down a rabbit hole on YouTube a few weeks ago that led me to a few dissections of Rey's theme musically. And people were freaking out because they could find almost every other motif in the series referenced in Rey's theme. And people were thinking, what's happening? Does Williams just not know where it's going and he's saving his own ass by making sure he can pull whatever he needs whenever they get there? And it became clear, no, he knew what he was doing. It was all in there because it all had to be in there. She was a complex character with a lot of different roots.
Yeah.
But it's got to be exhausting to be that guy who has to think that far ahead.
Right. Well, you listen to Rey's theme, and you listen to Kylo's theme. Very few composers, I feel, can define a character. You hear... I mean, the only examples I can think of are John Williams, Luke's theme, Indiana Jones, Jaws, you hear that, and so you see the character, the shark, you see Indiana Jones, but hearing the it's fuck, that's Kylo. You don't need to see it. You hear it, and it's that's the character. And it's I can't think of any other composer that...
Not in film scoring.
Yeah.
Sondheim is good at that, but he doesn't do as much film. He mostly writes musical theater.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just trying to think.
It's an insane art to me. I don't know enough music theory to really get into the weeds on it.
Yeah.
I know enough to know that it's impressive.
Very. Yeah. And so I'm curious to see if he's just going to retire.
Right.
Or if he's just done with Star Wars. Because he's put 40...
A lot of...
60... 70... came out in 70... 74, 75?
I don't know, man.
I think the first one came out in 74, 75. So that would put it close to 60 years. 55, 56 years.
77.
77. So, pushing 60 years.
Getting up there. Gosh.
And he's not a young guy either.
No.
So I hope he retires and just retires with his royalties from the Cantina song. That's my favorite bit of John Williams trivia. Is that when he scored the first Star Wars, he was like, I would like to keep the royalties to one song. And George Lucas was like, all right, he's probably going to take the Star Wars theme or Luke's theme or something. But
just took his little
I want
jingle.
him. He's like, I want the Cantina song. And George is like, sold. It's it's
little
yours.
Did he know.
You realize, at that point, it's probably okay. But then you think about it in hindsight, it's the Cantina song is everywhere. Everywhere. But yeah, I love that. It's John Williams is the sole owner of the rights to the Cantina song.
Good for him. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird end of an era to experience. Star Wars has changed so much about our culture.
Yeah.
From the way we view film to the way we merchandise film.
Well, Star Wars literally changed the Academy of the Art.
Yes,
Film Academy.
Literally
changed it.
To the way we visualize sci-fi. Everything.
Yeah.
Star Wars has had fingers in.
Yeah. As much crap as George Lucas gets nowadays, I mean, you have to realize that the things we judge him on are things that he established.
Right.
We use examples of things you should have done this. Well, he created that thing that we use to judge him with.
It's like judging Bill Gates for not being able to get into an app fast enough.
Right. But yeah, I